Excuse me, world. You are interrupted with another episode of Marvelous Talk, and you have your usual suspects here. Big G, what's popping, man? How you doing?
Man, happy Memorial Day weekend to all those people that's out there in comic book and Marvelous Talk land. Good to see you, and we thank you for listening to our show.
Yeah, man. And Max, happy Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you.
It's early where you're at, man. So
it's a little early, but I got a good night's sleep. I slept to some OBI-WAN. It was good. I actually watched Stranger Things, and I was like horrified by what I saw. So, but OBI-WAN stole my show day. It made up for Stranger Things in a sense. It was horrifying. I was like, okay, they're just gonna kill kids every second now. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I don't. Stranger Things will never get my. They don't even have to worry about me watching it. And definitely, with that being said, if you like the content that you are viewing this morning and every Wednesday, make sure that you like and subscribe. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. Definitely, when we go live, you will make sure that you get all of the notifications there. And anybody who wants to leave a question or just a comment, make sure you do that in the comment section. We're definitely going to get into OBI-WAN today. I'm going to talk a lot of OBI-WAN. I am super pumped about it. But before we get into this, let's get into this. And we are back here at Marvelous Talk with your main man. We ready to get it in. And Max, man, we were super excited, rightfully so. I think this is better than what I expected. And let's talk about it, man. Let's definitely talk about it.
So before we get into it, did you guys say it met expectations, exceeded it? Just episode 1 for right now, not episode 2, episode 1. How did you guys think that episode went?
It to me personally, Max, it exceeded my expectations. I thought, we've been used to this whole Obi-Wan piece. I mean, not a whole Obi-Wan, Star Wars piece, where we wasn't getting a lot, we thought, and we were sort of hanging on with Mandalorian. But I said in the show prior, I was like, if Obi-Wan can land the plane for the Star Wars series and bring it back home with the quality of Marvel. And I think for sure that it exceeded my expectations. Ma, what you think? Did it exceed or go above your expectations?
It exceeded. Like I said, man, I think, man, as I'm just sitting and I'm thinking back on what I saw.
Just episode 1, though. Just episode 1.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back on what I saw. It was great. I thought the storytelling was great. I thought, there's just so much without getting into it that I could say, but I will say I didn't expect this. I expected, it to be good. I didn't expect it to be great. It's great.
No, I have to agree. And, this episode 1 left me wanting more, but that's what episode 1's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to get you into the show. It's just setting up the whole show. The only difference is with this show, we have more background. Mandalorian, we didn't know what the character was. We didn't know if it was going to be Boba Fett. We figured that out later. Whatever. This show, we knew Obi-Wan going into it. And it starts off with kind of a throwback to the past of the show. We start in the Jedi Temple. There's a group of younglings getting mowed down by clone troopers. The clones are vicious. They look great. And then we start on Tatooine, everyone's favorite desert planet. We're in a bar. The Grand Inquisitor has landed with the third sister and fifth sister. There's been talks of there's a Jedi on Tatooine. Well, where is he? He goes into a spiel about how Jedi have to help. They have a sickness to help. And as he says that, he starts to slice into somebody, and a Jedi appears. But it's not the Jedi we're all thinking. It's a Jedi by the name of Nari. They have him cornered in and Reva, the third sister. She is a little too overzealous. He escapes into the desert. And immediately you can see that the Grand Inquisitors are not that great of a team. The Inquisitors, are not that great of a team. There's some beef. Reva has something to prove. She wants to find Obi-Wan. But for what reasons, we don't really know. And then we go to a day in the life of the meat factory of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
So before we actually get them, let's unpack this real quick. I want to unpack the younglings, right? You saw this group of younglings who they were doing, karate exercises and were kind of flexing, right? and the instructor, their leader, their master, did a really good job of defending them to the point to where they got to the bridge. Once they got to the bridge, she got snuffed, and that was pretty much it. Focus on these younglings for a second. The reason why I brought this out is because of the simple fact that possibly we saw in the bar with the Grand Inquisitors was one of these younglings. Am I right?
I think you are right in a sense. I think the third sister was one of those younglings. Do you guys think that too?
I do.
I believe that, really, to be honest, I think that this is one of the liberties that Disney Plus is taking away from the comic book lore of the comic book canon. I think that the whole sector of the Inquisitors were younglings. I just believe that. I believe because I know that the Inquisitors are force-sensitive beings, and younglings aren't necessarily considered Jedi. They're just activating their powers. So I think that whole little group, a pack of young people that we saw escaping through Order 66, I think once the show is over with, we're going to find out that all of those individuals were tied to the Jedi Temple in some capacity.
Yeah, and the reason why I think Reva was a youngling, we did see an African-American youngling that was a girl in that pack. Are we right, Max?
Yes,
so
you were right.
That's why I feel like that not sharing about the guy in I forget his name, you called his name, not sharing about him being a part of that youngling mix, I think would be a travesty not pointing that out, because 10 years has went by. So they, 17, 19-ish.
Yeah, and we're right in the middle of 3 and 4. Everybody out there, like Mod said, we're 10 years. Episode 4 happens 20 years after. So we're smack dab in the middle of it all.
Right. So continue, Max.
So we were at the bar. We see a day in the life of Obi-Wan. He's kind of getting a little old. He has a day job. It looks like it kind of sucks. He works in like a factory or something out in the desert. He comes home to his cave. He buys a little toy, and we can only assume, and we're going to see later on the episode, who the toy's for. And he goes to sleep, and this is where he has nightmares of the past. It's Qui-Gon. It's Anakin. It's the duel on Mustafar. And you can just see the pain on his face. It's just, it's hard to honestly watch. He goes through his daily routine again. He checks on Luke. He drops off the toy. And on the way back, he's confronted by that Jedi from the bar, and he's like, Obi-Wan. Like, he knows him. He's like, no, my name is Ben. Like, Obi-Wan has forsaken his Jedi past. He's like, nope. Not even going to happen. And granted, we know he's on the mission. So let's stop right here. Let's just break down this scene real quick. What did you guys think of how Obi-Wan interacted with Nari?
So let's back up. Big G said something that I didn't even notice, right? But it made sense. Big G was talking about when if we don't know if this is R2 that's buried under the sand or who this is buried under the sand, but it's a droid, right?
Yeah.
So when he comes home, security, the droid, will tell him, if it's blue, if nobody's been in his house and nobody's in his house. If it's red, somebody's there. Big G's point was, Obi's not using the Force at all. He's not even using the Force to sense who's in his crib, who's not in his crib. That's why the Sandman, which we've had some jokes, the Sand guy, he was able to sneak in and start talking to Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was kind of, surprised at him when he came in because he's not using the Force at all. So when you say he's in his normal life, he's literally in his normal life. And the writers did an excellent job at showing us normal being Kenobi instead of Obi-Wan. They showed us being, and we got a chance to experience the mundane, just day by day, drooling. I'm going to work. I'm going to cut off a little slice for my animal, and I'm going to move on, right? Go ahead.
No, and they clearly show just the dilemmas he has to face, and that he's chosen to like he's just taking himself out of every situation. Like you have a scene earlier where one of the guys at the factory is like, yo, you didn't pay me the whole thing. And Obi-Wan looks like he wants to do something and he just lets the guy get beaten up. And he's like, all right. And it's like, that's not what you'd ever imagine the Obi-Wan we left in episode 3 doing. He would have stepped in and defended the guy. But they just show again how he's just like taking himself back from it. He's like, I can't, forsaking himself.
Right. So it's sort of like I have family members that are like members of military that was like in active combat, right? Like multiple stints of active combat, including a couple of my uncles who are now deceased that was active combat. And when soldiers who are been in active combat for so long come home, they have the hardest time of adjusting into like normal life. But one of my uncles that's now deceased that was in active combat, what he had to do was he had to develop a pattern and a routine. And his pattern and routine made his mind stay as far away from, what he went through over in wartime and made him stay focused. Because the moment that he broke that pattern and routine, all hell sort of broke loose in his life. And I think that's what you're seeing played out with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has developed a pattern and a routine to suppress the fact that, hey, you were not even just a Jedi. You were a master Jedi. You were one of the top echelon Jedis. So he's got to block in his life because he knows that any little sense of the Force or anything like that out there are people that is hunting him and that will kill him. So he's trying to be as normal as possible, even at the expense of what he knows is inside of him. And it's almost like that desert represents, like him being out in the middle of a desert represents the fact that everything around him is just dried up and died. Including he's trying to suppress and dry up and die the ability for him to operate in the Force as a Jedi. So I think that was a really good depiction from the narrators. Even though I knew it was going to be on Tatooine, even though I knew all of that, just the way that they showed how Obi-Wan, like to Ma's point and Max's point, Obi-Wan was becoming old Ben Kenobi. He was in the process of becoming that guy.
And I think to kind of further hammer in the interaction between him and the young Jedi or the youngling, the guy who's Force sensitive with a lightsaber, it's his failure. He's like, look, let me give you some advice. Go find you a spot in the desert and bury this thing. You know what I'm saying? Basically, he's like, man, we failed. We lost. It ain't no fight. You know what I'm saying? It's over with. Why are we even thinking about this? My failure, I failed him. I failed. And then at this point, he feels like he failed. And that's why he started having a dream. That's why he was having a dream. He felt like he failed Anakin. He felt like he failed himself. He felt like that they were failures. The Jedis were failures. So this scene that he's having between him and the Jedi kind of nails that narrative down. Listen, I'm telling you what to do because I've already done it. I've already found me a deep hole in the desert, and I buried that Jedi that you think I am. I buried him there, right? So that kind of hones in on the narrative that it's Ben that we're talking to. It's Ben that we're seeing. We're not seeing Obi-Wan. We're seeing Ben Kenobi.
No, absolutely. I agree. It's just a stark comparison between the man he used to be and the man he is now, where he told that Jedi basically like, get away from me. Like, I don't even care. Don't expect help from me. He says, go bury it in the sand. And then, after this scene, we're going to see the polar opposite of Tatooine. we see Alderaan. It was actually great to see it for the first time since it became Rebel in Star Wars lore.
Yeah.
It's green. It's full of life. I mean, it doesn't look like the Empire's there at all. It looks like it's a normal place. Like, oh, you don't have to worry about crap. Like, no one's here. And we see our first look of young Leia. You know, we've seen Luke when he was a teenager. We didn't really get to see Leia. She was like kind of already a senator, mature beyond her years, but she's running off. She's playing. And I just think it's an awesome parallel between the two twins. One's growing up in the hellish desert and one's growing up as royalty and just in a green area. And we already see she's kind of like her own personality. She just kind of does whatever she wants. She doesn't listen to mom. I mean, if this was like 30 years ago, she might get spanked. I'm just going to say that, put that out there, everybody. Yeah. She's kind of a bad kid. You know, she does not listen well. She murks her cousin verbally. And after he says you're adopted, which was a big shot. But it wasn't the biggest shot at the episode because we see Obi-Wan and Owen Lars have an interaction where he's like, why'd you bring this? He's like, it's just a toy, Owen. He's like, just leave us alone. And he goes, the one we talked about this, when the boy comes of age, I have to train him. And this was just like a 15 out of 10 on the fire somebody up like his father. I mean, that had to be an all-time like
that was
roast.
A dagger. That was a dagger. He wasn't below the belt. That just eradicated the belt.
He would have been docked 2 points, probably a DQ from the fight if this was a fight in the ring. It was bad.
It was bad.
Hey, I got just a comment and a question too. Like Max, and that was a great point where you said about the contrast between the two characters growing up. You can almost see, at least in my perspective from episode 1, where Leia might have been a better Jedi than Luke because of the environment that she was growing up in. She was running free, and some of that stuff she was able to do. And it was just my thinking: how can a little bitty kid outrun grown men? You know, and this girl's got to be a world-class athlete to be able to outrun grown men. She's the Usain
Bolt of Alderaan. I'll just put it like that. You know, man, breaking 10 seconds.
She was shooting. I had a daughter that was a climber. My middle daughter. She climbed everything that we were ever around, and she was pretty fast, right? But I have never seen my daughter run the way that little child was running and shooting up trees and able to go way up high and not scared of nothing.
I think it's safe to say Leia's a 4.240, maybe low 4.3s, low 4.3s.
Yeah, nice. And the little green dude, he looked like he was swift, and she was outrunning the little green dude. So,
and she had really good moves too. Like he had a juke, hit a slide. I was like, okay,
yeah,
right. But I believe that she had it was like her force. First of all, let's just say this: she is Anakin Skywalker's baby, right? First generation. So she's a chip off the old block, right? So I think that it was like that environment was conducive for her to like naturally use force sensitive stuff versus where Luke was at. And he had an uncle that not only was the environment suppressing, but his uncle suppressed him. His uncle was like, nah, he can't. The little boy was supposed to have been out there doing the stuff in the field. And, you know, the uncle's like, Luke, where you at? Luke. And Luke is on top with some goggles, acting like he's steering what's the little crabs called that Anakin used to mess with? Pod racing.
Like the pod racer,
Yeah, he was acting like he was pod racing, man. You know, so it's like he's got to fight to like sort of let the stuff that's in him come out, to where Leia's stuff, she was just naturally doing it. She looked like freaking Yoda out there in the woods running through she actually looked like Luke, what Luke looked like when he went and visited Yoda and running through the woods and all whatever else.
When we talk about that, Big G, I'm almost positive in the books that she was the one that they wanted to train first, right? Is that right?
Go ahead, Max.
Right, Max?
I don't remember that being said. I remember like there was a big controversy though about like Leia's really strong in the Force. Let's be real. Like she just never got the training to be that good of a Jedi. Like when you see her, you know, when they do the flashback of her training and stuff in like the movies, she could be just as good as Luke if she put in the training. That's just how it is. And like I think Sean made a good point about her Force manifestation power. Like she manifests the Force right there. That's how she needed to dive at the moment That's how she outran them so long. And no one's going to suspect her because she's royalty. No one's going to suspect her at all.
Right.
Yeah.
That little girl was a beast. She was a beast
monster.
early.
So, but you know, at the same time, I was like, if you don't set your little narrow self down somewhere, you know.
So it ends with her being kidnapped, you know, and then we find out the kidnapping isn't really just about Leia. It's about how do we find Obi-Wan? It's the third sister. It's her master plan to lure out Obi-Wan. And on Tatooine, we see the Jedi Obi-Wan had communicated with was strung up, murdered by the Inquisitors. I'm going to go with that. And then you see a little flashback, and it's a hologram of Bail and his wife talking about, please save our daughter, Obi-Wan. I was thinking he was going to say, you're our only hope. They didn't do that to me. And I was like, damn, you guys had the opportunity there. And he's like, find somebody else. I find a bounty hunter. I'm done. You don't want me. Yeah. And Bail's like, no, I'm coming in person to talk to you. And we're going to get this handled.
No, I need you now. And that further supports the narrative that Obi-Wan has totally left Obi-Wan and became Ben. He's like, no, I'm not doing this. We need to stay hidden. One of the things that we missed out, and I think we kind of glazed past, you got to understand, he feels like he's doing his duty by staying hidden and hiding and just watching over Anakin. So much so that he thinks that Qui-Gon is going to talk to him, you know, about what's going on, and he's not operating in purpose. See, it's something about operating in purpose that unlocks other stuff, right? And he wasn't operating in purpose at all. He thought he was, but he wasn't still functioning inside of the code in which was instilled in him from a child. So he was kind of, and I have to kind of sidebar this because we skipped past it. The recap for this show was stupid. The recap brought us into this environment in our mind already, right? So we got a chance to see him from a kid, you know, basically a young man, take on Anakin and his responsibility. So his sense of responsibility is real tough.
Yeah.
So he thinks that as a person, this is what I'm doing. So let me really hide so I could watch over Luke.
It was truthfully like a greatest hits of their relationship, Anakin and Obi-Wan. And I'm sorry, we forgot to mention this. When Obi-Wan's talking to Owen, the Inquisitors come and Obi-Wan's hidden, and the Inquisitor Reva gets in Owen's face and is like, hey, I think you know a Jedi. And he's like, I hate the Jedi. She was going to kill him until the Grand Inquisitor stepped in and stopped them. And Obi-Wan's just watching. He doesn't, and I mean, what could he really do, right? In that position, what could he do? He just had to watch and play out. And luckily, Owen wasn't killed. I know we know he's not going to get killed. We know Obi-Wan's going to make it out of this show. But it's kind of a complicated task in making a show where you know the character's going to survive. But they've really tugged the strings like, is he going to do something? What's he going to do? How's he going to do it? And it's just, they really built up until the end of the show that he's really quit the Jedi. He's quit the Jedi way of life completely. And then when you see him go into the sand, I mean, Anakin probably would have been cringing at that scene where he's digging in the sand. Just, he gets his lightsabers out. He puts the lightsaber on.
I can't stand the sand.
And he goes off to save Leia. And I have to say this. Once he put that lightsaber on, he was like flexing it. He like shows it openly. I'm like, bro, that is not a smart move.
Not the smartest move at all.
Did y'all peep the fact that when he popped open the box in the sand that had the lightsabers inside of it? Of course, it had two, but one of the lightsabers was actually Anakin's original lightsaber from when they fought. Like when he trained and before he switched over to have a red lightsaber, that was the actual lightsaber that used to belong to Anakin that he's going to give to Luke. So It was his lightsaber as a Jedi, the Padawan lightsaber that he was going to give to Luke, but it was actually used to belong to Anakin. And guess what? When he grabbed the sabers, he didn't grab his saber first. He grabbed the Padawan saber first. Now, he ended up with one of them, but when he reached down inside of it, it was like he was reaching for the Padawan. It was almost like he was saying, man, Anakin, I don't know. You know, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but I'm going to try to honor your memory. I know I was told to go and watch over Luke, but I got to go take care of Leia. You know, and it was almost like agony. Like him, when he fell to his knees and he dug in that sand, and when he reached down in that box, it was like he was getting he was getting ripped out of his soul. Like, man, I don't want to do this, but I got to do it because if I don't, she's dead. And I know how important she is as well as he is, but my responsibility is him, but it's really to her, and I don't know what to do. And here we go again with this dude asking Qui-Gon, what should I do? I need to hear from you, Qui-Gon, and I don't know what to do. But like you said, Max, when he put that bad baby on, like he was Bossellini. He was like, you know what? I wish to God somebody would say anything to me. I'm gonna chop your head straight.
Like when he's walking around with a swagger with that thing, and it's not that smart. I mean, there's other ways to hold a lightsaber back in like the basically fact is if you have a lightsaber in those times, you're gonna get killed. They're gonna kill you right away. So he might have had I mean, if it was me, I would have smoked it a little differently, maybe a little old fashioned way. I don't want to say the way, but you guys can piece it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
My sister says that. She's like, if that was me, I would have done that. I was like, oh my God. Like, she's got her wisdom teeth removed. People be like, why does the lightsaber stink? I don't know.
So, definitely, we're coming to the end of this program and just our parting shots here on this thing, man. The first episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. What do we give it? What's the number grade between 1 and 10? What do we give it, man? Like
I go 8.5. 8.5. 8.5. It was really good. It left you wanting more, and it leaves you with questions too. It's like you don't get any Vader. It kind of makes you think: does Obi-Wan even know? They make it seem like Obi-Wan's acting under the assumption he's dead. And you don't really find out till the second episode.
All right, man. I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm not trying to give it make it seem like it's all that, but it really was because the way that they set the story up, right? Leia. I didn't expect them to go to Leia right off the bat, right? We thought it was gonna be about Luke and Obi-Wan and his dealing with his stuff, but them going to Leia right away gave me an automatic 10. The story right now is more about Leia and Obi-Wan than it is about Luke and Obi-Wan.
I don't think Luke is going to get much.
In the first episode, we're talking first episode, right?
Yeah, first episode. It's more about Leia.
I don't know. I don't think I would agree with that, right? I think that it would be more about Obi-Wan, and kind of setting the precedent that Obi-Wan is no longer. Obi-Wan doesn't exist. And he got here to this point by making sure that he stay hidden, stay low, cut off all the juice. Like you said, G, he wasn't using no force sensitive stuff. So my number grade is a 9. I give it a 9. First episode, it was a 9. I loved it. You guys, if you have not watched it, make sure if you made it to this end part, you've already spoiled it for yourself. I'm sorry. I should have said that it was a spoiler. But make sure that you check it out and make sure you rewatch this again so that way all of the little nuances that you may have missed, you got them right here at Marvelous Talk. We won't even give predictions for the second episode, but we'll definitely get it. And you'll hear a breakdown from us a little bit later. So for myself, and for Max and for G, we thank you guys for watching. Like we said, we hope that you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for rocking with us. And definitely, if you like what you saw, make sure you like and subscribe. And we'll be here with you again really, really soon. Peace.